Is having a boyfriend embarrassing?
Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now?
Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now?
Vogue just published an article titled Having a Boyfriend is Embarrassing.
Apparently, there's a new publish through like the British Post or something like that. And they are saying that it's uncool for women to have boyfriends now. Gosh damn it! What? Literally, and people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's so uncool to have a boyfriend.
Women should ignore men forever.
Vogue released an article saying it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend, and although that's a bit dramatic, it confirms that we are living in a time where women do not need men. And not only do women not need men, they don't want men.
Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? That is the title of a viral British Vogue article that was published about 10 days ago, written by Chanté Josephs. And everyone on the internet has opinions, including me. So let's talk about it. The first thing I want to talk about, I'm not going to read the article. I'm going to leave it linked below. It's going to be the first link in the description. So you should go read it if you want to. The first thing I will say about the article itself, the article was talking about, is it embarrassing to post your boyfriend online and to be all my man, and be super open and public and posty on social media about your boyfriend, and then have to go back and delete all those photos when you guys break up or whatever. That was kind of the main subject matter, and how people will unfollow you when you start posting your boyfriend. And she was interviewing people who had been in like 12-year-long relationships and had never posted their partner, and then their partner ended up cheating on them, but they were like, well, at least I don't have to go and cover up all the evidence that we were even together in the first place. So my personal opinions, maybe I'll wait till the end to talk about how I feel about everything, because I have so much to say. But the first thing I will say is that I thought the article was good, but I thought the title was amazing. I love the title. I love that it's kind of like rage baity. I love that it's kind of clickbaity or whatever. I have seen people talk about how the article was so short, which it was. It's only a 3-minute read, maybe. It's only a couple of paragraphs. It isn't a really long, detailed, like super deep dive into, is having a boyfriend embarrassing? Let's fucking talk about it in massive detail. It wasn't really that. It was more from this one's specific kind of angle about posting online, and when a girl becomes male-centered in her content, and then you have to delete the photos, whatever. And is it boring to kind of follow people who kind of turn away from who they are and just turn into like the girlfriend girl? I'm a girlfriend, and that's like my main thing now. And they kind of center their identity and their content around their boyfriend. Is that like, do we really want to follow girls that just talk about their boyfriends all day? And for people who aren't content creators, who are just regular users of social media, about posting your boyfriend online and then having to delete those photos. Anyway, that was what the article was that was what the article was about. The article was very short, but Chanté Joseph herself said that Vogue made her edit out loads of stuff, and you only get like a specific word count. I'm not a writer, I don't know, but I've seen writers online talk about writing articles like this and how you really have to kind of like shave bits off here and there in order to fit in the word count. You can't just write an unlimited amount of words for your job. You get a specific job with a specific number of like word count or whatever. I'm actually not 100% sure, but it's something like that. So Chanté did come out and say that's why the article was so short. I wanted to say a lot more. I wanted to go into more detail. I wanted to kind of like fluff it up and add more context and blah blah blah. And she couldn't, because Vogue didn't give her that amount of words. Anyway, the first thing I will say about a lot of people's reactions to this, a lot of people have read the title and gone with it, not read the actual article itself. And I think this is really good and also really bad. The reason I think it's bad is because the people who haven't read the title, the people who have only read the title and are like really triggered by it, really triggered by it, are kind of talking about why it's not embarrassing to have a boyfriend and how horrendous it is for people to be saying it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend. And it's like, well, if you read the article, it's only talking about one specific part of having a boyfriend. It isn't actually taking shots at like a boyfriend as a whole. It's only talking about posting on social media. So maybe you should read the article. It takes 3 minutes. Another reason, and from the other side, why I think it's good that people read the title and then are like, yes, it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend, is because, again, even though the article is only talking about one specific angle of having a relationship or having a boyfriend, women, a lot of women or people who have boyfriends, I'm sure a lot of men, a lot of gay men who have boyfriends are chiming in as well. I haven't seen any from what I can remember. I don't think so. I've mostly been listening to straight men and women talking about having boyfriends. Anyway, whatever. People are reading the title and being like, yeah, it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend because of this, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. And it has kind of opened up the conversation as a whole, not just talking about, is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend and then delete his photos off social media when he fucks up and you have to break up or whatever, but also this and this and this and this and this. So it's kind of opened up the conversation a little bit more. And I'm here for it, honestly. Like, I am genuinely here for it. Again, wait until I'm not gonna do like my full how I feel about all of this until the end, because I can kind of see things from both angles. Basically, to sum up how I feel is, do I think having a boyfriend is embarrassing? I think having a boyfriend is embarrassing if your boyfriend is embarrassing and if your boyfriend is a fucking loser. That's what I think. I fully believe that there's a lot of men out there who are really capable of showing up properly into a relationship and taking accountability and prioritizing their partner and like making it their job to never hurt their partner and to never embarrass their partner or to never betray their partner. I think there are a lot of men who are very capable of doing that. Most men are not willing or not able to do that, from my experience and from the experience of pretty much every other woman on earth. So that's basically a summary of how I feel about it, but I'll go into more detail about that later. Another thing that kind of annoyed me about my initial kind of observations of a lot of people's reactions to the article. First of all, they didn't read it. Second of all, a lot of people are saying that it's a statement. Vogue said it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend now. Vogue just posted an article saying it's not cool to have a boyfriend. First of all, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? Is not a statement. Vogue did not say, and Chanté Josephs did not say it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend. Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? Is a question. It's a question. It isn't a statement. So it's like also opened up this kind of thing in my brain where I'm like, people don't read, and they don't read the article. They read the title, which is a question, and they take it as a statement. And then they have this whole reaction to a question that wasn't even a statement, and also clearly obvious that they didn't even read the article. So that's another thing that kind of pissed me off when I was checking out other people's reactions to this. Anyway, we're going to have a little tiny history lesson just before we react to, or just before we watch people's reactions, and just before I tell you how I feel about this, and my own personal experience with, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? I want to do a little quick history lesson just on where we've been, not me and you per se, but as women, where we've been in the not so distant past, and how things have changed a little bit with how we want to or need to interact with men. So obviously things have changed a lot for women in the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I'm not trying to say everything is perfect now and everything is equal and we're on a complete even playing field with men. That's not what I'm trying to say. But in terms of where we've been to where we are now, things have changed. Women no longer need to get married and need to have a husband in order to go in order to buy property, in order to have access to opportunities, in order to do certain occupations, in order to open bank accounts. Like, we don't need to have a husband in order to do all of that stuff anymore. Whereas in the past, you needed to be with a man in order to fully function as a citizen and in order to be taken seriously as a human also because there was a lot of social stigma tied to the fact that you are an unmarried woman. There must be something wrong with you. You're a failure for not fulfilling your duty to find a man, keep a man, and have all of his babies. And then even we've spoken about this before in some of our previous podcasts, but even the way that single women, particularly older aging single women, are portrayed in the media as crazy cat ladies, old spinsters, old hags, old witches in the woods or whatever. Again, just kind of perpetuating this idea, like if you end up old and single, you're crazy. There must be something wrong with you. You're crazy. And it's just so not the case. It's not the case for every woman on earth, obviously. Like a lot of countries are still really far behind on women's rights and girls and women having access to education and income and all that kind of stuff. So with that in mind, a lot of us are one of the first generations of women in our families, if not the first generation of women in our families, that can kind of do whatever we want. We can kind of go anywhere and do anything within reason and like within our access to resources and our money situation, all that kind of stuff. But we can study, we can live abroad, we can go anywhere. We have more flexibility, more opportunities than most of the women who came before us. That certainly wasn't the case for our grandmothers, and it might not have even been the case for our own mothers. So that's how recent it was. That's how recent it is that women needed to get married in order to be a fully functioning member of society, in order to have access to safety, security, credit, and a home. The average age of a woman being married in 1980 was 23. So imagine today if a 23-year-old was getting married, we would be like, you are an infant. You are a newborn baby. Why are you getting married? No, don't do that. I think there would be very few people who would encourage and actively encourage a 23-year-old woman to get married nowadays. Even in maybe in some religious things or whatever, they would encourage it more. But I think overall, most people would try to, convince that 23-year-old woman to not get married. In 1950, men made up the vast majority of college students, but by 2025, women are estimated to make up to 57% of total enrollment and outnumber men in undergraduate programs. So again, women are excelling in careers, in property ownership, in education. Women are doing very, very, very well. And a lot of women now, okay, what am I trying to say? So there is, even though we don't need a man anymore to survive, and we don't need a man to have access to education and property and all these kind of things anymore in the same way that we did even just 1-2 generations ago, even though we don't need a man, sometimes a lot of us still have that conditioning that has been so deeply ingrained in us that we do need a man in order to be complete, even though times have changed. I think there's a really big difference between needing a man or thinking that you need a man and actually just wanting to pair bond and wanting to have a relationship with someone. I think those are massively different things. But unfortunately, a lot of women are still conditioned to believe that they need a man, even though they don't. Times have changed. We don't need a man. But that feeling of being really incomplete without a man is still there for a lot of women. And it will probably be a few generations. Now we're just even with things like this article and the conversations that are being had, the 4B movement, women choosing to be single and child free, and making loads of content about that. I think we're just really at the very first baby steps of this this break away from traditional marriages or patriarchal kind of marriages, this kind of breakaway and this realization that women are having, where it is okay to want a relationship, it is okay to pair bond, that is a natural thing to do. And But to come at it from a completely different place, not I need a man in order to be complete, my life is not complete without a man, but to actually say like, this is something that I will only be in a relationship with someone if they add something to my life. Do you know what I mean? Instead of being like, I need a man, I'm empty, I'm single, I'm solo, I'm broken, I'm all on my own. Actually, even I was watching the British Married at First Sight last night. I was just kind of catching up. I'm still 2 episodes behind. Oh my God, Stephen. Fucking I knew you were a fucking prick. Anyway, there was one of the, I can't remember, John and I can't remember, I'll put a photo of them up on the screen here. They're so sweet, by the way. I actually think I'm rooting for these. I am rooting for these this couple. I actually think they're so sweet. But anyway, they went back to her family, and she was like, oh, the mother was so happy that her daughter had found this man. And she was like, now your life can really start. Now you're complete. This is what we've been waiting for. And now finally you can start your life. And I'm like, okay, I understand what you're saying. And I'm probably just reading too much into it or whatever. But like, and again, she's from a different generation, blah, 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 whatever. And also she probably knew her daughter was really looking for a partner, which again, that's fine, whatever. But just now all your pieces have come together. Now you are complete. Now finally you can start your life. As if from meeting him back, just insignificant, and nothing you did mattered, because now you're starting your life. Now your life can truly begin. This woman is about 30. Like, I'm sure she has a degree. I'm sure she's traveled the world. I'm sure she's done plenty of things that have been her life, starting being active in her life, actively living her life. And it was just the way the mum worded it that I was kind of like, it's still conditioned. Obviously she's a lot older. The mum was like in her 50s maybe, but it's still that conditioning is still in people, where now I found my husband, now my life can truly begin. And I understand if you want to have kids, yeah, like you do need, well, you don't anymore or whatever, but like whatever, that's a whole ass other conversation that I'm not going to have right now. But anyway, let's move on and let's watch a few TikToks and let's watch a few people's reactions to this. We're not going to actually, I'm talking more than I thought I would, so I should know by now, but yeah, let's watch a few people's reactions and then I'll get into like my full reaction to, is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend? So a lot of the reactions that I've seen obviously have been a lot of women saying, yeah, it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend because of this, and this, and not actually referring to what Chanté was talking about in the article, which I think is, as I said in the intro, I actually think it's a good thing, because again, it's opened up the conversation into, it's like zoned out massively and opened up the conversation in like a larger fucking talking points or whatever, blah, blah. A lot of people are really annoyed. A lot of women are really annoyed about this, because they're like, no, my man is so amazing. Of course, my man is not embarrassing. It's not about you. The article isn't saying, is every single man on earth a piece of shit? Is every single boyfriend really embarrassing to their girlfriend? And I have to say, there have been a lot of women who are in really good relationships with really good men who have commented or posted or made their reaction videos saying, yeah, it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend, even though I have a really good boyfriend who would never embarrass me. The vast majority of my experiences, the vast majority of my girlfriend's experiences, the vast majority of women as a whole experiences has been that the majority of men are not great partners. And just because you have a really good partner does not mean the article was aimed at you. And I think a lot of people are kind of self-centered, and I think a lot of people lack nuance and context and all that kind of stuff, and they can't like just zoom out for a second and be like, this Chanté didn't write the article for you. She wrote it's just, it isn't about you. Anyway, so a lot of men are speaking up and agreeing with it too, basically saying like, men, it's time to wake up. Like, you better fucking get your shit together, you know? And a lot of men are speaking out as well, being like, well, why is it not embarrassing to have a girlfriend? Why is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend, but it's not embarrassing to have a girlfriend? And again, I'm not trying to say every single man on earth is a piece of shit and every single woman on earth is an angel. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But the ways that men and women are socialized, the ways that men and women are conditioned are so different. And the way that women are conditioned to self-sacrifice constantly and put everyone else first and give and give and give and give and give at the expense of their own health. And most men, not all men, use your brains. I'm not talking about all men. A lot of men are socialized to put themselves first. So anyway, that's again a whole different conversation for a whole other day. But anyway, let's watch a few TikToks.
Vogue released an article saying it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend, and although that's a bit dramatic, it confirms that we are living in a time where women do not need men. And not only do women not need men, they don't want men. They'd rather be single and alone than be with someone who adds absolutely nothing to their life. With that being said, there are so many good guys out there, so many great men out there, but there are so many more shitty men, and having to filter through them to find somebody who is decent has become exhausting. So they've given up. So what does this mean for men? It means that if you are a good guy, if you have a great life and you have something to offer somebody, it's your time to shine. It's your time to step up. It's not time to sit there and be like, oh, women hate us. No, they don't. Women don't hate men. They just want someone who's going to come into their life and make it better. And that might sound shallow, but you're not hearing me. You're not listening, because if you are entering into a relationship with someone, you want to be with someone who makes your life better. They make you a better person. They make you more ambitious. Whatever it may be. Women don't want someone who's just there. They want someone who's going to challenge them. They want someone who's going to support them. They want someone who's going to cheer in their success. Make them more successful. Make them smarter. Make them more traveled, more learned, more cultured. Whatever it may be. So if you are a good guy and if you have something to offer, if you have a great, whatever it may be, it's your time to step up and shoot and show it. Prove it. Do it. Don't wallow in sadness and be the guy that's like, oh, women hate us. They don't want to give us a chance. No. Because all the guys that do suck, they are giving up. As they should be. Fuck them. But if you are one of the good guys, one of the decent guys out there, don't shy away from the challenge. Continue to be a good guy. Continue to prove yourself.
Okay, so I agree with this guy, and I don't think, from my experience, I don't think the reason why women are giving up, the reason why there's like this man-hating like feminist thing going on or whatever, and it's been going on. This isn't new, is not because women hate men. It's because of how women have been treated by men repeatedly over and over and over again. That guy as well saying, I just want to say something. That guy as well saying there are so many good men out there, but there are so many more shitty ones. Yes, that is absolutely true. Another thing I want to say is I commented on a Substack article about a year ago. I have the screenshot somewhere. I'll post it here. If I find it, I'll post it. But this man wrote an article saying what women don't know about men, something like that. And I was like, oh fuck. So I read it, and this man basically said that, like, why do women hate men? Because 95% of men are actually really, really, really good guys. And from my experience as a man, only 5% of the men I've ever come across have not been good people. And I commented and said, okay, but if you are a woman interacting with men, you need to flip those numbers. You need to flip those numbers. If you are a woman and you have been interacting with men for however long, you need to flip your statistics. You are a man who's interacting with other men. The way that man interacts with you and is decent with you and respectful to you does not automatically mean that that man is going to be as decent, as respectful, and as kind or sound or whatever to the women that he interacts with. And Anyway, so that's what I commented, and I think a lot of men think this. Oh, he's my friend. I've known him for 10 years. He would never. He's so nice. He's obviously a great boyfriend. He's obviously really good to his girlfriend because he's so nice to me. That's not how it works. Let me tell you, that is not how it works. Just because your bro is decent to you and is kind and generous or whatever to you, does not automatically mean that kindness and generosity and decency transfers to how he treats women. Okay, so that's what I just wanted to say about that.
Vogue just published an article titled "Having a Boyfriend is Embarrassing," and honestly, the fact that this even had to be written is a clear wake-up call for men. Because if women, smart, independent women with their own careers, homes, and lives, are saying that being in a relationship with a man feels like a downgrade, we are clearly doing something wrong. One of the quotes really stuck with me: being partnered doesn't affirm your womanhood anymore. It is no longer considered an achievement. That has to stop and make us think. There was a time when having a boyfriend, a husband, was seen as a step up, a kind of validation. Now it's something many women feel hesitant to even post about or tell anyone about. They feel like they need to hide it from their friends, their family, in fear of even being judged. Somewhere along the way, it seems that men stopped being a source of strength or support. Men became something that takes rather than adds value. And when you think about it, why would a woman with her own income, her own peace, and her own power choose to bring someone into her life who only adds stress or extra work? And I know for me, having a girlfriend isn't something you're entitled to, it's a privilege. And with that privilege comes responsibility. That might mean doing more of the day-to-day work, laundry, dishes, and things many men still expect women to mostly handle. It might mean supporting her ambitions, helping her go back to school, cheering her on in her career, or simply creating space for her to thrive. At its best, a relationship is about two people making each other stronger, better, helping one another become the best version of themselves. But if we're honest, it seems a lot of men aren't holding up to that side of the bargain right now, which is clear in the article. We need to change that. We need to start bringing back real value, emotional, practical, intellectual, so that being with us isn't embarrassing, it's empowering. So when Vogue says having a boyfriend is embarrassing, maybe it's less about mockery and more about disappointment, because the modern woman feels like being with a man is a step backwards.
This was another instance where someone used the title as a statement. Vogue said that it's embarrassing to have boyfriends. No, it's a question. But anyway, I love hearing men speak about this, to be honest, and it just makes me feel like, okay, well, if a man is speaking about it, then there's a higher chance of other men listening to him, rather than if women are talking about it, not that many men are going to listen.
Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? No. Because as a late 20s lady, I'm going to push back on this title and say that most people that I know are either in relationships, are in pursuit of relationships, or are taking a break but do see themselves in a relationship at some point in their life. I also think the title is just really silly. Like, I get that it's an editorial choice to get more clicks, views, engagement, whatever. It clearly worked because now this article is viral. But I am just tired of articles that are like, is going to the movie alone embarrassing? Is reading a book in public embarrassing? Is ordering a matcha latte embarrassing? Like, we are too focused on creating an environment of embarrassment and shame, and this leads us to over-intellectualize our very human behaviors and our impulses and desires. And I just think that these articles, they help compel people to continue over-intellectualizing, to the point where then people get caught in this paralysis of like worrying about how they appear to other people instead of just, living life and going on dates and trying to get that boyfriend that they wanted and that humans have wanted for hundreds and thousands of years. Like, it's very normal to have a boyfriend. And honestly, like, this...
I love Mina Lee. I absolutely love her, by the way. And again, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that she's talking about here, except, is it embarrassing to go to the cinema? Is it alone? Is it embarrassing to get a matcha latte? Is it embarrassing to read in public? They're very, very, very different. Like, getting a matcha latte, I understand what she's saying about like creating this environment of like everyone's trying not to be cringe and everyone is trying so hard to like be cool or whatever. Like, I understand the point of what she's saying. However, getting a matcha latte, going to the cinema alone or reading in public alone is not going to dysregulate your nervous system. It's not going to cause you to have autoimmune diseases. It's not going to abuse you. It's not going to absolutely mess up your life the same way that a lot of women have experienced from having a bad boyfriend. They cannot really be compared. But I know she's not talking about those things being equal or being even comparable. She's talking about just like article titles and stuff. So I understand that's where she's coming from. The only thing that I would say, yeah, it is completely normal to pair bond. It is completely normal to want to have a relationship with someone. And again, as I asked earlier, there's a big difference between wanting to have a partner who adds something to your life, like a healthy, stable, secure partner, and then feeling like you need to have a partner in order to be fulfilled or in order to be complete or whatever. Those two things are so different. Yeah. So that's just something that I would add to that. And also if, anyway, we'll talk more.
Everybody's like discussing whether or not having a boyfriend is embarrassing. And honestly, I do think having a boyfriend is embarrassing because a lot of y'all are sleeping next to your biggest haters. A lot of y'all are dating men who do not fucking like you at all, who actually fucking hate you. And you may not be able to see it, but like a lot of us can fucking see it. Like I see certain men in their relationships and I'm like, this man don't fucking like her. This man do not fucking like her. And as a girl who dated a man who fucking hated me, I see the signs. I know when a man doesn't fucking like you and he fucking hates you. It's embarrassing as fuck because then you're like, wow, you really are going to do me like this. And a lot of girls will lower their standards just to have a boyfriend. Like a lot of y'all are like so far out of your boyfriend's league, it's not even funny. But y'all are almost like too afraid to be single that you would date a loser for the sake of being in a relationship. I don't understand it because like some of y'all are incredible and could do so much better. And then I'm like, why are you dating this man? Especially when the man has publicly embarrassed you. Like if he cheated on you and everybody knew about it or whatever it was, he publicly embarrassed you and you continue to be with him. I'm like, girl, get a fucking grip. Your boyfriend is out here tarnishing your fucking reputation, which is so crazy to me. So yes, I think having a boyfriend is embarrassing at this day and age. Now, not all boyfriends are embarrassing. There are a few people, who I, see their boyfriends. I'm like, okay, he's a good one because he worships the ground you walk on. So yes, he's a good one. But a lot of y'all are dating your biggest haters. A lot of y'all are sleeping next to your biggest fucking haters.
Yeah, that is true. And as someone who has dated people who really did not like me at all and who had no consideration towards me, and that is really embarrassing. That is absolutely really embarrassing. I'm not sure if we're going to watch any more TikToks because this section has gone on a little bit longer than I thought it would, but there are so many TikToks and I don't know if there's any reactions. I haven't searched it on YouTube, and I'm not sure if it's made it onto Instagram yet or whatever, but like it's definitely all over TikTok. It'll be on Instagram in 3 to 6 weeks probably, but I'm not sure. I have a few videos here, but I'm not sure. 1 second. Yeah, I have so many videos saved, but I think if I play them all, we're going to be here for like an hour. Unless you don't mind that. I'm not sure if anyone wants. Maybe I'll play a few more and then you can just skip. You can skip. I'll have the timestamps on the bottom or whatever. If you're sick of watching TikToks. Would never be me, but if you're sick of watching TikToks, then you can skip.
Just when dating in Sydney couldn't get any more brutal, now it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend. And more surprising than the headline are the hundreds of women in the comments agreeing with it. I'm not throwing shade. I genuinely empathize with people who may have given up on dating because I know it's a jungle out there. But I'm curious to know, is this about independence or is it a passing trend? Because in the article she says, to me, it feels like the result of women wanting to straddle two worlds, one where they can receive the social benefits of having a partner, but also not appear so boyfriend obsessed. It feels like we've hit a point where freedom is the new flex. In the past, the milestone was the ring, and now it's career, travel, and independence. So maybe a boyfriend feels less of a status symbol and more like baggage. But is it possible to embrace independence while also valuing partnership? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts.
So I think if there's an article like this published and the vast majority of people who are answering the question are saying, yes, it is embarrassing. And if you are a straight man which I presume this guy is, but he doesn't sound like he has much experience dealing with boyfriends, whereas all the women who are commenting have experience dealing with boyfriends and they're the one answering the questions. I think you should listen. I think you should listen to what they're saying. And again, I'm not trying to like criticize this guy or tear him down. I don't think anything that he said was particularly like deep or interesting or offensive in any way. But even just the fact that he's like, is this just a trend? It's like, no, women are putting up with so much shit from men. Women are out here being abused. Women are out here being murdered. Like, the number one person who's most likely to kill you is your husband, your boyfriend, your ex, in your own home. The most dangerous place for a woman to be is in her own home with her husband. That is statistically the place and the person who will end her life and where her life will end, statistically. Now, I'm not trying to say every single husband is going to kill his wife. That's not what I'm trying to say. So relax. But what I am saying is there's a lot of, this isn't just a trend. Like, oh, this TikTok trend, this Vogue article, like, women, what are they up to now? What are they giving out about now? Women are literally being killed, abused by their partners. And not all the women in the comments have suffered like significant abuse from their exes. That's not what I'm trying to say. But a lot of people have, and even if they haven't suffered significant abuse by their partners, even just being with a really shit, inconsiderate person is over and over and over again. You know what I mean? It isn't a trend to... Okay, as someone who was deeply conditioned by the like Disney of it all and the being in a relationship and getting validation from men, and especially when I was a teenager, like that being the, oh my god, this guy is really into me, therefore I must be valuable, I must be worth something. Like, as someone that was ingrained in me, it's a really hard process to kind of wake up to the fact that is a lie. Do you know what I mean? That the fact that like happily ever after or whatever, like it isn't an easy thing for women to kind of break their own heart by coming to the realization. It's like a grieving thing where you're like, oh, okay, men have not really been raised the same way, and you're out there by yourself when you're in a relationship and you're thinking like, when you're thinking about the partnership and you're thinking about your relationship with this person, and the other person is thinking about themselves over and over and over again, and then you realize it isn't just my experience. This is the experience of so many people, and I know there are men out there who've had that experience too. I'm not trying to say every man on earth is a piece of shit and every woman is an angel, okay? So just remember that while I'm talking, because it kind of gets a little bit like annoying for me to have to keep repeating that. And also, the reason I don't feel the need to over explain this, and the reason I don't feel the need to add so many disclaimers, is because I know really healthy men will understand where I'm coming from without the need for me to add so many layers of context and nuance and so many disclaimers and so many like, but also this, and actually all of this too. Like, I know that really healthy men who are aware of misogyny, who are aware of like toxic masculinity or whatever, who are aware of patriarchal conditioning and how it fucks up men and how it fucks up women, I know they know what I'm talking about, and I don't have to keep adding so many, and also this, but also maybe this sometimes. Like, I don't need to do that, so I don't feel the need. And if I offend a man who's like, well, not all men actually, like, I'm just skip my videos always, please. But anyway, what I was trying to say with this guy, when he's like, oh, it's just a trend, it's actually heartbreaking as a woman to come to the realization that the like happily ever after thing that we've all been sold is kind of, it could, for a lot of women, it isn't true. And a lot for, you know, that isn't a trend, and we're not all like, woohoo, everything we've been told is a lie, amazing. Like, it isn't easy as a woman to kind of recognize that, the reality of it all. Okay, so I'm going to go into the next section where I'm going to talk about my feelings. I know I've spoken a lot about my feelings, but anyway, I'll see you in the next section. So my feelings on the actual article itself about women posting their boyfriends or women having to delete the photos if they break up and stuff, I personally wouldn't unfollow my friends for posting their boyfriends. Like, absolutely not. Would I follow an account that was a couple account? No. Like, there's so many couples accounts that are like John and Mary or whatever, and they like do like TikToks together. I'm sorry, I'm not going to follow you. Would I follow family channels? No, absolutely not. Would I unfollow my friends for posting about their boyfriends? No. So I don't really care, to be honest. I'm not like, oh, she's so male centered, she's posting her boyfriend. No, not at all. I also don't think it's embarrassing if you have posted your boyfriend and then if you find out he cheats on you, you delete the photos. Like, I don't think that's embarrassing at all. Like, sorry, I personally don't think that's embarrassing. I could potentially see how if you made it your whole, like, say you went on it, you were going out with someone for a year or two and you were like every day, like, this is what we're doing today, this is how great he is, oh my god, I'm so lucky, and then he fucked up and then you have to take all that down and be like, never mind, none of that happened. But at the same time, it's not embarrassing for the woman that she got cheated on. It's embarrassing that the man made those decisions. But however, I do understand how the woman could feel embarrassment and shame in those situations, because that's kind of the way that betrayal works and the way that abuse works or whatever. You kind of like the shame gets shifted and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, do I think it's embarrassing to post your boyfriend online? No. Do I think it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend? No. Do I think would I follow couples accounts? Hell no. Would I follow family accounts? Hell no. Do I think it's embarrassing to delete your photos if you and your ex break up? Fuck no. Sorry, no. Anyway, as a whole, do I think it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend? No. Unless your boyfriend is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to have a boyfriend if your boyfriend is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to have a boyfriend if your boyfriend's a fucking clown. It is embarrassing to have a boyfriend if he's a fucking loser. Like, 100%, yes, it is embarrassing to have a boyfriend if your boyfriend is a massive piece of shit. Yeah, that is embarrassing. If you are disrespected and not considered and repeatedly having your feelings invalidated, repeatedly being shouted at, repeatedly being called names, embarrassing. Like, it is embarrassing. And then the blame shift starts to happen in those situations where, of course, he's the one making, like, and again, context nuance. There's women that do that too. So, but I'm talking specifically about this article. Is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend? But I'll just add another disclaimer that women do this too. Not all women are angels, blah, blah, blah. But in this context, from my experience and from the experience of all the women that are replying and responding to this article, you start to get embarrassed, even though you are not the one making those decisions. You are not the one doing those actions to like intentionally hurt someone else or being disrespectful or inconsiderate. You will end up feeling embarrassed because you're staying. And again, there's so many reasons why women stay. It's not easy to just be like, oh, I'm gonna leave now. There's so many psychological reasons why a trauma bond, blah blah blah, whatever. That's again a conversation for an entirely different day. But there are so many reasons why women stay, hopefully eventually they do leave. But the shame for putting up with that and the shame for staying is really big, and that obviously comes with a sense of embarrassment as well. And as one of these people pointed out, especially if it leaks out into like public, if it leaks out into like when it happens when you're around friends and everyone else can see that, you know, it's one thing to be like, oh, this is all happening behind closed doors, but when it's visible, there's another layer of like, not only now do I know that I'm staying and putting up with this, but now everybody knows that I'm staying and putting up with this, and that is embarrassing. Love is not embarrassing. Relationships are not embarrassing as a whole. Love is not embarrassing. Falling in love, being in love, existing in a co-created space of like a mutually reciprocal relationship with your love is not embarrassing. Being in a relationship with a man who is kind, considerate, who actually likes you, respects you, considers you, someone who apologizes and is capable of taking accountability, someone who really wants to understand you, someone whose worst nightmare would be hurting you, someone who would go out of their way to make sure that they're not going to hurt you, and apologize if they did, and then make sure they never did it again. Being in a relationship with someone who is excited about you, and being in a relationship with someone who is taking actions to be an active participant in the relationship, and someone who is doing everything in their power to avoid fucking up the relationship and to make sure that they keep the relationship safe and healthy and all that kind of stuff, that is not embarrassing. That is not embarrassing at all. But from my experience and the experience of like hundreds of thousands of other women who have had multiple boyfriends, the vast majority of men are either unwilling or unable to do any of those things. So if you are in relationships with men and you have to lower your standards and put up with shit from them because they are either unwilling or unable to be an emotionally mature person, committing and participating in a healthy connection, you inevitably have to compromise on your standards. You have to put up with their shit. They're not going to change, and they don't care if they're hurting you. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing, and it's really sad that that is the experience of so many women, which is why the reaction to this article has been so huge. Overall, I'm such a big love girl, like I really am. And despite my own experiences, and though I've never experienced it before, and I'm not sure, very few of the people I know have experienced it or are experiencing it, I still fully believe that there are really, really good men out there. I 100% believe that. And I think it's okay. It's okay to want that, and it's okay to take action to like try and find that. It's okay to go on dates. It's okay to keep trying. I really believe that that's okay, as long as it's coming from a place of like, this is going to just be the extra cherry on top. It isn't going to be the whole entire cake. It isn't going to be, finally my life is complete now, my life can start now because I'm in a relationship with a man. No, your life is already so full and amazing and tasty and vibrant, and there's so much going on, and you have so many layers to your cake. It's already like spilling out of the tin, and having a really good man who is actively making your life better and actively choosing you, prioritizing you, considering you, making your life better, he's the cherry on top. So that's what I think about this article. I actually have way more thoughts. I only got through about half of my Google Doc, but I think I'll end up talking forever if I keep talking. So I'm going to end it here. I was going to talk about Dax Shepard, and I was going to talk about like, this is embarrassing. Having a man like this is embarrassing. Adam Levine, this is embarrassing. And there was someone else, Janae Aiko, Big Sean, this is embarrassing. Like, there was loads of people who, like, loads of stories from the last little while that I wanted to kind of talk about them being embarrassing, and like in this kind of situation with this kind of man, that is embarrassing. But I think that's a conversation for a different day. I am working on another video, people who hate their partners, or like men who hate their wives or whatever, or like Ned Fulmer. But again, I think that's a conversation for a different day. It didn't really tie into this. There's just so much to say. But thank God I have a camera and a microphone and I can say it. So I will be back really soon. Thank you for being here with me, and I will talk to you soon.